All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Dig It podcast. I'm your host, Drew Walsh. Today we got guest Jay Pryor of Pryor Development in the house. You guys are in for a treat. I think I found my match with someone who likes Infield just as much as I do. It's a pleasure to have you on, Jay. Please just introduce yourself. Start a little background story for our listeners.
Yeah. So first, thank you. That was a great introduction. You got a pretty nice announcer voice. That was that
Dude,
was impressive.
people sing songs in the shower. I work on my podcast intro.
That was pretty good. You've been working on that for sure. I have not heard that side of you. I will definitely say that.
There we go.
But yeah, I'm Jay. My name is Jay Pryor. I've been a coach here in San Diego for quite some time. A little bit of background about me: played baseball growing up, the whole nine. Started off young, kept going, kept playing. Mission Bay High School, started to try to play in college. That didn't really work out. Stopped playing baseball, and then started getting into coaching with my dad, who was a coach for some younger teams, 9 and 10 years old.
San Diego Stars. They are a
San Diego Stars.
powerhouse in this area.
Yep. San Diego Stars. That's the same team that I played on growing up as well. And then kind of started getting a little bit more serious about actually wanting to get into training. And it was my wife that had to actually kind of push me along and said, you should really do this. And so, I started the whole Instagram and social media stuff. It kind of caught fire. And, that's when I started taking the infield side of things a little bit more serious. And now I am the infield instructor for the Atlanta Braves. I'm working with the minor leagues from AAA all the way down. And yeah, it's just been a whirlwind of a past couple of years. So that's kind of me.
How do we unpack that my man just went from stop playing, just started coaching, 8, 9, 10, started taking it just a little bit serious. I'm coaching AAA Atlanta Braves. And let's just unpack that a little bit, because and I've been along a little bit for the journey. Like, we met before I even moved out to San Diego over 3 years ago, just because, as massive as the social media platform is, it could be really small, especially for dudes who love infield play, because not too many people do. So right away, we were both seeing what each other were doing, and we were like, yo, I like it a lot. Let's connect.
I don't know when it was. It was probably 2018 or 19.
Seems like a blur.
Yeah, and you were one of the people that had popped up. So at the time, I remember there was probably maybe 5 of us. It was you, me, Drew, not Drew.
I was about to say, it's like, who else is
Duke.
Drew?
Yeah,
Duke?
Drew. Yeah. You, me, Duke, Coach Lou, Carlin was doing it at the time, and then there was another guy. Gosh, the Canadian Tyler, I believe, is it? He's the
NIP, NYP.
Yes, NYP.
And I got to show some love to my girl Morgan Stewart too. She's doing a thing. She'll be on the podcast soon.
Nice. Yeah. So there wasn't many people, and I know that you were one of the ones that I had reached out to. I was like, man, like I really like what you're doing. If you're ever in San Diego, and I specifically remember saying that if you're ever in San Diego, and of course, a year, 2, 3 years later, now you're here. So it's been really cool.
And we would like talk, and then next thing I know, when I met you, it was like by accident. Like, I was in a facility working at the time and doing in a session, and I turn over. I'm like, oh, is that Jay Pryor Development? And then from there, I was like, dude, let's do this, man. But what I want to talk about is, like, that's an insane jump, right? And you gave yourself every single opportunity. Jay Pryor is just a very talented human being with a massive heart, so much energy, who would be successful really at whatever you wanted to do. And if you think about the time we're kind of in, the last 3 years have been pretty weird, right? Like, things have changed a lot for a lot of different people, some more extreme than others. Yes. But what it's really done is allow people to take a step back and kind of look at a bird's eye view of, like, what do I really want to do every day? What do I really want out of life? Not to get too deep, but you love baseball. You knew that. It's been a huge part of your life. You started coaching and you started realizing, like, wow, I really love infield play. It's been a big passion of mine. Okay, let me attack it. let me keep my job, but let me attack this. And then next thing you
Yep.
know, man, I don't even know if I need my 9 to 5 job
Yep.
anymore. Let's
Yep.
just do this. And we would talk about that. You're like, yo, I'm like, I got like one toe in, and I'm like, I like do it. Just jump.
Yeah.
Like I hate cold
Yeah.
water. I'm that one toe in type of guy, but just do cannonball. And
Yeah.
and that like then next thing you know, you're coaching the best infielders in the world. So
Yeah.
I just want to like highlight like, man, if you have this anyone listening to this podcast, you got a passion and you're getting feedback that you're pretty good at it, right? Doesn't mean you're the best. You need to continue to work at it every day, like us, we all do, but go attack it, man. Like you
Hmm.
never know who's going to see your piece of content that
Exactly.
calls you up and says, hey, Jay, this is so-and-so with the Atlanta Braves. Do you want to
Yep.
come coach with us? Like, give me like, what word describes that feeling when they're like, hey, is this Jay Pryor? Like, yeah, who's this, man? Like, I got to get to my
Yeah,
rec call.
that was an interesting phone call. It was I was on the field. It was a Saturday night, and
On the field Saturday night,
yeah, it was a
just
Saturday night. We
grinding.
had a tournament. We had a tournament in, I believe it was Fallbrook, and I got the call, and it was like, "You're who from where?" Because my number is pretty weird, so I get a lot of random calls, and I had to think about it. Like, "You're who from where, and why are you calling me?" So, to your point, I mean, I know that you were a person that I would always try to bounce ideas off of, and I would call you and say, "Hey, you're absolutely right. I was still working. So all this time, I still had my day job. I would work. I was in healthcare at the time, and as soon as 3:30, 4 o'clock came around, I'd hightail it and get to the field and start working on trainings as well. And it was kind of becoming a point where it's like I'm really not enjoying the 9 to 5 stuff, which I know sounds like the crazy YouTube ad of I quit my 9 to 5 and now I make $3 million. And it's like, yeah, I'm not there yet. I wish, but that's really kind of how it felt. And it was like, gosh, I would love to do something baseball oriented. But I also told myself that I would never stop working because I understood the side of things where baseball is is a passion that doesn't necessarily mean it could always be a business. So kind of deciphering the two is hard to do, especially when you're starting to see the business side of it do pretty well. So for me, I always told myself that I was going to work. And the Braves calling was just an opportunity to actually continue to work, but now it's strictly in baseball. So it kind of gave me the best of both worlds. Like I said, it was a whirlwind. I felt like I was just I don't know, just spacious for the first couple of months of actually being there and being at spring training and going through the season, just kind of figuring out and a lot of learning and knowing where to be, who to talk to, what to do. So yeah, this is again first year down, and it's been great. It's definitely been something that it's a great learning process. It's something that you can't ever replace.
And we're gonna unpack that a little more as we move forward. But I kind of want to just still stay on this point of like, man, you could say what you want about social media, everyone out there. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people just slang it and stuff like that. But what I've come to realize is social media is an amazingly powerful tool.
Yes.
And all
Yes.
it does is just expose what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to cause drama, if you're trying to spread hate, if you're trying to do that, it's going to magnify it. So it's not that it changes anybody or
Mhm.
causes bad. It's almost like a microphone. Like it
Yes.
exacerbates the volume. So Jay, you've done such an amazing job with your page, like so quick. Like I didn't know what the heck I was doing post one. It was probably like a post of a Chipotle sandwich, but and like I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, I'm just gonna keep doing it. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep
No,
doing
that's
it, and I'm gonna get feedback, and it's gonna be good or bad. So I'm gonna
yeah.
try and listen to the bad so I can make more good. But like unravel like just a little bit of that headspace going into this phone allowed you to reach the world and get a
Yeah.
job in the best in the world, right?
Yes. Yes. No, that's a big thing for me is the social media stuff for me was more of an outlet to be able to get to more people than I normally would if I didn't have it. So
Right.
the passion that I had for wanting to get into training was I was tired of seeing young players not be taught the desired way just for the sole reason that they're too young. I never really understood that. So it's like, for me, if you're going to teach a kid that 2 plus 2 is 3 his whole life, and then at some magical age you're just going to switch it up on him, you're not giving him the proper tools, or you're not setting that person up for success. Same thing goes for baseball. If I'm going to
Sure.
teach you, a certain way at 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, I'm going to teach that to you at 9, 10, 11 years old as well. And what I was seeing is that there was a difference there, and I didn't like it. So the social media side for me was, I'm going to try to spread as much knowledge as I can. Why not be able to do it to, the world possibly, if I can? So there's a little bit of a method there, and trying to stay consistent. And I encourage people all the time, if you feel like you're passionate about doing something, it doesn't matter what it is. I have a few of my friends that I'm just like, start an Instagram, start social media, start doing something. Someone else is out in the world is going to like it. It's going to catch wind, and it might not ever blow up per se, but still someone is going to benefit from it, because they might be going through the same thing as you, or might be, have the same, like passions as you. So the social media stuff is just something that, obviously I'm very thankful for it, that it got to this level, but it was something that I am very keen on trying to stay consistent with, and just trying to get out good knowledge. Because if those two things correlate, then something good is going to happen eventually.
And that's gold right there. So if you're listening to this and you have a passion, and you're like, oh, I don't want to start an Instagram. People are gonna think I'm trying to really like flaunt. People are gonna think this, people are gonna think that. It's not gonna be perfect. It's not good.
Yeah.
All of those are just your ego trying to keep you in the same place you're at today.
Yep.
And if you want to stay there, then that's fine. That's on you. And I wouldn't agree with it, but that's my opinion. So I guess I'll just start, because if you're passionate about it, someone else is going to be. If you're passionate about it, you need to tell other people about it, because if
Yes.
man, bet on yourself. So there's so much opportunity out there for you guys, and Jay is such an awesome story about that. Who offers so much more than that. It's just allowed him to get his message out there on a
Yep.
larger billboard, so to speak.
Yep.
So I let's unpack, like, we man, I've worked with your infielders, you've worked with mine, and I love it. It's really refreshing to, when I work with an infielder that's worked with you in the past, like, we don't have to go over the mundane basics, because both of us are like, how am I gonna get to B or C without A? I know
Yep.
you think you're at F or E, but we're gonna
Yep.
go back to A because something ain't right. So that's the cool part about, like, if I know if they're coming from prior development, I know A is good. I know B is good. It's just a matter of how old they are and if they got to C. So
Yes. Yes. That's absolutely right.
I think, and let's get back to your statement earlier about, like, hey, why, like, and that's such a good point, because I know you're young, and we have to teach you we have to communicate with you differently than maybe we would with like a middle school,
Yeah.
high school, college pro guy. But the basics aren't that far off.
No.
It's just
No.
maybe how we communicate them, how we progress them, sequence them, are gonna be different. So what's one thing that stands out for, like, we'll say the youth, and out here the youth is like 5. They start at 5. It's crazy.
Oh
But
yeah.
maybe like
God.
it's nuts. We got studs who are like 6 years old. We're like,
Oh yeah. I remember the first time I've heard the youngest I've ever worked with was, I believe it was 6 at the time. And this was a long time ago. And I was even hesitant of working with the 6 year old. And then I got him, and it was like, God, he's better than some of the 11-year-olds that I have. So
you got like your snack pack in your backpack because you think you're gonna be like babysitting them or something. But
yeah, yeah. No, so it's tough, because I kind of go back and forth of, what age is the proper age to start getting into personalized and specified training. And, it all depends. It really does all depend. I would say, if you feel like they have something, and you can kind of tell, and, parents, be real with yourself. If you think they got something, then yeah, it would be good. I'm not saying he has to do it every single week, or, twice a week, or whatever it is, but, maybe getting a little bit specialized, training to be able to kind of figure out the nuances of how to do things. That's great. If you feel like they're not at that level yet, then, that's where the YouTubes and the social medias, and, trying to gain knowledge as much as possible, good knowledge at least, because there's a lot of fluff stuff out there as well. But trying to gain as much, positive knowledge of infielding as possible to be able to kind of work with them in that space. So for youth, what I try to do is, especially the first training that I will ever have with somebody, I tell the parents, I want you to stick around. I want you to be here, because a lot of the times I'm training you versus training the kid. I'm training the kid the movements, but I'm teaching you the thought process behind it. And you're going to be there 90%, 98% of the time, and I'm only going to be there 2% of the time. So
Mm-hmm.
if I can help you as the parent, then hopefully you can translate this to your little league team, to your other kids, in the neighborhood, whatever it is. You're going to be a lot easier to communicate that with versus the kid thinking that they're just changing their movements. Now, is it going to happen first day? No, but it just all depends. So age wise is tough. Age wise is really tough.
Yeah, I
But
think to your point, I think like a kid shows up and he has the maturity or he doesn't, and it's not a good or bad thing. It's just
yeah,
it is what it's black and white. Some kids show up 7, 8, 9 years old and they just got it right. Like they
yes,
dig
yes,
it, man. Like from day one, they're just like about it. Like what's
mm-hmm,
next?
mm-hmm,
Asking good questions.
yes,
Like they understand what the game's trying to teach them, and then it's like, well, yeah, let's rock. Like I tell for me, it's like if I'm not babysitting a kid, he's old enough to work. Like
yes,
if the kid is there asking good questions and wants to be there and didn't just get dropped off, we could work together, right?
mm-hmm.
And then from there, there's a whole cascade of things you got to keep in mind. But I think what's one big thing, a skill, and this could be like youth, middle school, that you're seeing a big gap with consistently.
This has been one that's been really prevalent. I mean, it's always been prevalent. I think just being able to now verbalize it is a big thing. Is just slowing the hell down. Everyone wants to be fast. Everyone, like, every movement possible is fast. And I've learned this in the past couple of months of just working with, a lot of great coaches, a lot of good knowledge, obviously, in the Braves organization. Um, but, Wash talks about this all the time, is catch it first, move second. And that's been something that I've really kind of honed in on, especially for the younger ones, because again, and I use this all the time as far as their movements. If you're an infielder, you're probably naturally fast. That's just how it is. That's just the mold
Right.
of the infielder. You move fast already. So when you're thinking fast and you already move fast, you're trying to put fast on top of fast, and now you're just too damn fast. So there's a lot of just quickness going on that doesn't need to be there. So I tell a lot of my guys is, if you can think slow, you're gonna be normal, and that's this pace that I need you to be. I don't need you to be at 135 miles an hour all the time. I'd rather you sit around 85 and not get a ticket versus you going too fast. And now you just got a speeding ticket. Now you got pulled over. Now you just booted the ball. Now you made error. So, and that goes from, like I said, everything. If they're, charging the ball, if they're, after they catch the ball, if they're trying to throw, if they're, their glove presentation, whatever it is, everything's just too fast. And I always have these 3 words of something that I want players to take away is control, smooth, and quick. If you can control your movements will be smooth. If you're smooth, then the result is going to be quick. If you try to work
Love
back
that.
from that, if you try to be quick, that means you're not going to be smooth and you're going to end up losing control. And that's what we don't want. So
Gold.
that's my whole mold of my idea of how we should work and how we should think as infielders. Is you got to control the movements first, and everyone wants to be smooth and everyone wants to be so graceful, and it's like, okay, well, in order to do that, you got to control your movements, and guess what, once you're able to do that, then the result happens quick. But don't try to be quick, because you're not going to be able to control anything. So
Such
that's
such
my
a
whole thing.
I love that, man. And we see it so much, so many talented infielders. The game, I mean, let's be serious. It's gonna speed you up, right?
Oh,
And
it speeds up on you
it's just
real fast.
adrenaline, right? It's just
Yes.
natural. It's a human response. So, to prepare for that, what you just said is so gold for you guys listening to out there. Like, oh, slow down. Yeah, slow
Yeah.
down to speed up,
Yes.
man.
Yes. Slow down. Exactly.
And a really dear coach of mine used to talk about, hey, you got three speeds, right? You got learning speed, practice speed, and game speed, right? And he used to joke about it because this coach is a Hall of Fame softball coach at the collegiate level. But he's like, man, girls love learning speed. They'll dominate the chunking, the sequence. They love that stuff. The boys, they go right to practice speed because they think they're too good for learning speed. And I'm like, yo, you're
Yeah.
right. That was me. They want to
Yeah.
go to practice speed for a hot second, and then they're at game speed. And it's like, dude,
Yep.
you do not belong here yet.
Yep.
And I think some ways how do you outside of like thinking, like, what's some tangible advice for a youth infielder to slow the game down?
That is the money question is how do you get a 9 through I'd say 9 through 11-year-old to figure out how to slow down? And I don't know if there's an answer to it, to be completely honest. Again, practicing at a slower level and having somebody there to always focus on their movements and say, hey, slow down. Hey, slow down. So it's a constant reminder, slow down, slow down, slow
Right.
down. I think it's gained again, just kind of going off of the way that I kind of shape my trainings is I think slowing down is gained off of being able to control your movements. So the more control you have, the easier it is to be able to turn on and off that light switch, which I talk about that great athletes have. Michael Jordan had a light switch like no other. He can turn it
Mm-hmm.
on when he needs to, and he can turn it off when he needs to.
Yes, sir.
And younger players don't have that light switch as much. They just turn it on and it's just constantly on. They're like
Ah!
exactly. They're constantly going, and you'll see that even because of the culture that we create for young athletes is like it's like boom, ground ball. All right, let's go get back in line. Boom, ground ball. Let's go get back in line.
Oh,
Boom, ground.
I
So
know, I know, I know.
so that's kind of something that we create innately because it's just we're trying to get them ramped up to a speed that they can really kind of feel that they're going to that level. But
Right.
at the same time, the game is so fast and it's kind of like being a point guard. Steve Nash, I guarantee, wasn't thinking, let me just move at 135 miles an hour. Kyrie Irving is not thinking that. LeBron's not thinking like all those basketball players, and that's a quick paced game. But they're moving in that fashion because they're able to control it. So being able, and again, the control aspect helps the speed aspect to me of slowing things down. So it's kind of tough. Does it happen at that young age? It might for some, but for those that you do see it, it's because they can control their movements a lot better than some others. So that would be the hardest thing. It's going to happen eventually as they start getting older and older, again, because they can control their movements a little bit more.
100%. And like the control. But we have a control center, right? That's our brain. That's our central
Yes.
nervous system. So
Yes.
I think what you think about a control center, like an airplane commander, and they're in the port and they're navigating all these planes. That's like you mean like the thoughts, the plays, what's going on in my head. Like
Yep.
there's 1,000 airplanes, jets, private jets, all and it's very chaotic. So I think that the control center has to be right. Like your
Yes.
approach to before the pitch, what situations might occur if the ball comes this
Yes.
way, that way, this
All
way, that way,
those.
this way. So then now a few airplanes are eliminated. It's a little quieter. And then from there, I think we both do a great job of talking to kids about like, dude, I need you to fail. I need you to make
Yes.
a mistake. We talk about offense, defense. Like, hey, what do we play? Offense or defense? Like, defense. I'm like, no, we don't. We play offense. All right. The game calls it a defensive position, but we play offense because we are gonna fail our way to being the best infielders in San Diego
Yep.
versus trying to stay in my little comfort zone and go patty up to the ball and catch it and then just make sure the ball
Yeah.
gets there.
Yeah.
That ain't gonna
Yeah.
get you nowhere, bud. So let's
No.
go be aggressive. But then you got the other side, right? The people who are just playing super aggressive because they're scared to try somewhere in the middle, right? Like, and that like there's an over aggression that's still defensive, right? Because they're not really thinking about the pace of the ball or their body control. They're just like, you told me to run fast, so I'm running fast. I
Yes,
did what you
exactly,
said.
exactly. And then that's
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 not
the
it.
biggest thing, kind of like you said, is being able to tailor your words the way that you need to for the young players, because when they hear faster, they're going to move faster, and that there is no middle. And again, like I said before, it kind of goes back to the control. There is no middle. It's, you told me to move fast, I'm going to move fast. And here
Your
it is.
fast might be different than mine, right? Like you might be able
Exactly.
to move faster with control than I can. So I need to move
Exactly.
as fast as I can that I could control still,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's why, like, in some of our drill sets, we'll do like, everyone wants to go fast, 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 and every parent wants to see a kid go fast, fast, fast. But there is an opportunity at that learning speed where you could go in a short fungo segment and just say, hey, we got 4 clips we're about to work out: 50% speed, 75% speed, 85%, 100. So now
Mm-hmm.
you start at 50, 75, and 50 doesn't mean you walk and you don't create good patterns and pathways and habits. We're still going to be on time, right, left, catch, go. We're still going to be on time with that right foot there on our throw. We're not going to lob the ball there. It's still going to get there, but it gives your control center an opportunity to feel what you're trying, getting in the flow with the
Absolutely.
ball. And then
Absolutely.
75%, we're still in control, but it's a little quicker, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm controlled, I'm moving a little bit. So now it gives them this cadence and rhythm, like, bet I know where I'm at 50. And it's funny because 75 sometimes faster than 100, because
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it's just because they're in control of their body. So
Yeah.
stuff like that helps kids, because they're always go, 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 like you said. So slow it down, man. Get some feels.
Slow down. Slow down. That's like I said, for me, that's been something that's been, you know, re- repeated multiple times in the past couple months, just from, you know, the higher levels, just because the game happens quicker. Things happen quick. And just slowing down and being able to control is the only thing that you can do. So for the youth, that would be a big thing for me. I know for me, one of the big things that I've always talked about is not being results oriented during training.
Oh my
Now
God, yes.
practice and game is a little different. I tell guys all the time, I'm like, right now we practice these things so that way we can, focus on the movements. I don't care if you catch it or not. It really doesn't matter. I've hit you 200 ground balls at this point. So what? You booted 3, 5, 10. It doesn't really matter. I'm focused on your movements. And I think that's another thing that kind of helps kids to kind of relax, because everything that they've learned about baseball needs to be results oriented. Now, come game time, that's a little different. I don't care if you catch it with your freaking teeth. I need the out, you know. But during practice, again, just kind of going back to just learning how to slow down. Okay, well now I can feel what it's like to be able to go ahead and just work on how I can be efficient with my body versus get the ball getting out. I don't need to get the ball getting out. You don't need to panic. You don't need to rush. You don't need to do it. There's no runner. I tell kids all the time. I'm like, look, there's nobody running. And if I was running, I'd be
Yeah.
safe anyway. So there's no point for you to rush. So,
Yeah, it's
so
like so chaotic. Like they catch the ball, they're
yes,
so quick to get to the end of the line. I'm like, bro, what? There's no outs at the end of the line. Why
yes,
are you
yeah,
flying to the back of the end of the line? First
yes,
base is
yes.
80 feet that way.
Uh-huh. So that's
That's
been
funny.
the biggest thing for me, I'd say, is in the past couple years, at least, for seeing from the youth, is just trying to get them to slow down and control the body.
Love that. Say that 80 more times louder.
Yep.
But the GOAT Ron Washington, for like, Ron Washington's arguably the best
Yeah.
infield coach in the world.
Yeah.
Give me like, yo, what's your biggest takeaway? You think Ron Wash, outside of probably an awesome human being, like infield wise, what do you like? What is that word that you're just like this? There's probably 80.
Uh, Wash is, I think the biggest thing that I mentioned earlier is just like catch the ball. Like so many people focus on trying to do B, C, D, E, F before they do A. And that's been the biggest thing. And it's been, not that that's something new. Like it's
Sure.
not a new idea,
It's not
but to
groundbreaking.
hear, yeah, it's not groundbreaking, but to hear it at that level when he's working with Dansby, he's working with Ozzy and whoever it is, um, just to hear him say those things over and over and over again before they do anything else. And his biggest thing is for the young guys, especially, he's like, you got to be on them, because they'll do it one time really well and think that they got it. But then again, they'll come back tomorrow and things will be all messed up again. So he's like, you have to make sure, and he talks about, practice perfection, because there is no perfect, but if we can strive for perfect during practice, then things will be they should be a little bit easier as things start to go along after practice, after practice, after practice. Then all of a sudden game time comes and we should be looking, we should be looking good. We should be looking very sound. So his biggest thing is like you said, is just slowing down again, kind of like we talked about earlier, but just catch it first. If you don't have target one, you can't get to target two, and target two is first base. But you have to focus on target one, center the baseball. He yells that all the time. And it's fun to watch him work, man. Just any little detail that goes wrong, he's on your behind about it. Let's put it that way. So,
and sometimes I feel like, we both get there and we're just like, we feel like we're nitpicking on these kids during our dailies.
yeah,
And they don't get it. We're like, dude, we've been in your shoes. We thought we were hot
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
man. We used to
no,
just like fly through our hand path stuff. But there's so much more to it than hand path stuff, right? Like, so I love that stuff. And I try, and when the kids feel the ground ball on their knees, I'm like, you're not on your knees. You're really in a right, left, catch, go. This game,
yes,
but you're just
yes,
trying to isolate what the heck you need your hands to do when you get over to
yes,
that. So
yes,
that's awesome, guys. The best in the world is teaching the best in the world to catch the ball
yeah.
first and move second.
Yeah, no, that was a big thing for me during spring trainings when I was able to be with him the most, and I would try to get over there as much as I possibly could, and like I said, just being around him is really cool, and just being able to learn as much as possible. I was a freaking sponge whenever he's around. So, and that goes for a lot of the coaches. I've learned so much from a lot of the coaches,
Yes,
and just how they think at that level. So again, for me, it was just something completely new. Never played at that level, never coached at that level. So this is all new stuff, and I feel like I'm better from it, and definitely thankful from all the knowledge that I've gained from all of them. So that's a big one.
100%. What do you got? Like a big thing I'm hot on right now is glove presentation, man. What with the youth percent? I'm sure it's everywhere, but like right now with the youth, man, just seeing these guys present glove late, not killing the ball in the right spot. Like, talk to me a little
Yeah,
bit about that.
yeah, that's a tough one. Only reason I say that is because again, it kind of goes back to the strength, and I hate to keep using this word, but the control. It's a lot different. You might not see it as much, or if you do see it, that guys talk about tapping the glove right before they feel the ground ball, or they talk about late glove presentation. It's like all those things happen at higher levels. I see it all the time. It's just a timing mechanism for whoever it is. But again, they can control it. They can control
Right.
when they control when they do it. They control when they don't need to do it. For the kids, it's not necessarily a learned behavior quite yet. So now they're just doing it. They don't know they're doing it, and it's so fun to hear kids' response to asking them, "Hey, did you feel that?" They're like, "Feel what? What are you talking about? I don't know. I don't know what I just did." I'm like, okay, try not to do X, Y, and Z now. Try not to tap your glove before you catch it. They're like, okay. Boom, they'll do it right again. I'm like, did you feel that? They're like, oh, I get it now. So again, it's just something that they haven't really learned to control, or haven't they don't some a lot of the times they don't even know they're doing something. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, look, I'm not trying to have you stop doing anything. I just want you to feel when you're doing it, so that way you can learn how to do it when you need to, and how to not do it if you need to as well. But glove presentation again is kind of a tough one, because a lot of the times for the youth, they don't know what they're doing with their hands. They're just here. Yeah,
Talladega
exactly.
Nights.
I don't know what I should do with my exact. It's kind of one of the, they don't know. They're so focused on ball, ball, ball. Make sure I get my feet. Make sure I do this, and they don't know what they're doing with their hands. So that goes into a lot of different factors. But glove presentation specifically, it's tough because again, like I said, they just don't have the knowledge of this is what my hand should feel like comfortably. They're just moving.
And on that topic, like control, right, and
Mm-hmm.
timing. And then the glove is an extension of our hand. So if
Yes.
our hand, like if
Did
if
that for
you're gonna do
years.
it like surgery with, like if a surgeon had mittens on and was going to do precise surgery, obviously they're not gonna have great motor control and awareness, and they're not gonna do their job. One thing I see a lot with youth infielders is they're outfitted with gloves that are like mittens on their hand as far as sizing. Like
Yeah,
they're
no,
running
you're
around.
right.
Do you remember like Placido Polanco, like the outfielder who wore like a 14-inch glove or something for the
Yep.
Yankees? That's where I see these youth guys running around with gloves that are like look like outfield gloves on them.
No,
And
that's
think
why
about
you see all these
this. Look
gloves
at this.
behind me.
Look at the yeah. What are you?
The
The trainer
trainer
glove
gloves.
king. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna get you a new one up there soon.
Yeah. Hey, I shoot, come one, come all.
Yes,
But
but
yeah,
about that,
training gloves has been a huge thing for me personally. Because I use a lot of car analogies, and with training gloves, it's like driving and some of the kids, I try to tell them this, and they probably have no idea what this is, but I'm like, if you had the choice of being on a racetrack, would you choose a Hummer or would you choose a 98 Civic? I'm choosing that 98 Civic because I know I can hug every
100%.
corner. I can do anything. So that's what a training glove is to me. Now, for the kids, sometimes training gloves might be the better option come game time. There's like a weird little space in there, that's they're old enough to move, but they're not old enough to have that heavy premier leather like the A2Ks and the Pro Preferreds. And although mom and dad might want to get that because they get to a space where I want to get them a quality glove. I don't feel like spending $400 on a glove, but I want something that's going to last and be durable as well. It's like, okay, that's a tough space. It's a very tough space. A lot of the times I recommend kids just use a training glove. If you're 9, 10 years old and you can find a 9.5 to 10-inch glove, wear it. You can control it versus you just running around and this thing is just doing this on your glove. Like you can't control anything. And then and the one big reason, and I get this question of why training gloves? Why do you have kids use training gloves so much? Is have you ever seen a kid catch a ball, look physically stop for 2 seconds to look in their glove to see if they caught it? Yeah, that's a problem. That's
we're
a
not going in. We're not
problem.
trending in the right direction.
No, we're not going. That means they caught this thing way out here and they can't feel it. If you can feel the ball, then you don't need to look. That's just all time wasted. Or the whole Sandlot idea of like, oh, I caught it, and then they're like looking around trying to find the ball, and it's in their glove the whole time. So that's a problem for me, and that's one of the reasons why I've been such a big advocate for training gloves. Now, don't get me wrong. Do you need to go field with a training glove every single day? Maybe not. But I suggest kids to get used to using their hand and just being able to control their hand. Use a training glove. And you could always switch later on and get to a bigger glove later on. But for specific ages, yeah, I think every kid should have a training glove.
100%, because these younger kids who are really talented understand what you're asking of them. They still have trouble catching the ball in killing the ball in their sweet spot. But also, if it's tough to find the ball in your glove because there's too much space, then your throwing pathway is completely altered. Your throwing timing is completely altered. So you think about, like, I kind of use all those analogies were sick. And to add to that, like, why would you give an 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old a high school weighted bat? How would his swing look? Would it be distorted? Would it be the same swing? No, it would be treacherous, right? It's like, why are we giving these kids a high school size weighted glove and asking them to be successful? We're setting them up for failure. So again, Diggett's got something really cool in the works that's going to meet that little gap, because I'm just tired of that. There's, I got love for the 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds too. They matter.
Yeah.
So we're about to take care of them in a fun way. You're going to be a big part of that. And I just think it's just night and day. I had a kid who's really talented, have a big glove on, trying his butt off, getting frustrated, put on a trainer, and it was night and day. Like, it was just two different infielders. So that's going to be a fun little project coming up very, very soon.
Yeah.
Jay, man, like, if you had to look back at your high school self, we'll say sophomore going into junior year, what would you tell young Jay Pryor about who, you want to play college ball, you want to do this? What are you telling little Jay?
Oh, yeah, I'd be telling myself a lot, but baseball wise, it would be just to actually practice. I think and I've said this before, a lot of my friends and I were almost cursed with talent, um, because we had it at a young age. And it was before the whole social media, look at me work and get 1% better every day. And, there wasn't that. We knew who was good in San Diego, and we knew when we would face them because they went to Poway, they went to Helix, they went to, those different schools. So we knew when we had to turn it on. But there wasn't a, hey, let me stay after and get some ground balls. I can remember that one time in my high school career because I knew I could feel the ground ball. I knew
Right.
that stuff came natural, but there was never the work. And so when I started getting older, obviously, size wise wasn't getting bigger. So, I needed to be to a point where things were not only natural, but I worked at them as well. And I didn't get that. I didn't get to that point at all. So, and that's my own fault. That was me worried about a lot of different other things, Friday, Saturday nights versus, trying to get better. So, and I'm not saying this to, be the guy that says go out and, practice after the practice, but you got to put a little work in. And I tell some of the kids this all the time. I'm like, look, I see you 4 hours a week. I see you 2 hours on Wednesday and 2 hours on Saturday or Sunday for practice. And that's excluding a tournament because that's not time where we can actually get better. That's more of, learning the game. And during that time, 4 hours a week that's not necessarily cutting it if you're thinking that you're getting better just from our team practice. No, you need to do some individual stuff as well. So if there's one thing that I could tell my, sophomore high school stuff when I thought I was hot stuff, it's just like, no, you're not, man. You need to go get better. You need to go do something. And again, just I wish that I told myself I wish I had me. I wish I had a guy that, took infield and took baseball as serious as I do now to be able to kind of, share that knowledge with my younger self and really kind of be a mentor. Because we always had good coaches. That was prevalent. There was good coaches around, but it wasn't to a point where it is like nowadays where, guys have coaches and then they have trainers as well. So that would be the message to my younger self for sure.
That's awesome. That's more gold there. Just man, there's so much to unravel in this podcast. Like I got notes here to my right. I'm pumped to go talk about it with my guys later. But Jay, thank you so much for coming on. But before you go, let our listeners know like where can they find you? I know you're heavy on Instagram, TikTok,
Yep.
but let the people know where they can find you, what you got going on, if you got camps. I saw you had some virtual training going. Let them know what's up at that.
Yeah. Trying to kick that off. That's been a little bit difficult. Just because one of the reasons why I've stayed away from the virtual side is I feel like you lose a piece of me. And, if I'm going to put my name on something, I want it to be the best of my ability. And so the virtual stuff hasn't gone the way that I've particularly wanted it to, but that's just me trying to be a perfectionist about it. So
That
I'm
goes back to the
sure.
conversation we had
I
earlier. And
know.
I'm gonna call you out on that because, dude, even if I got, a kid got 90% of Jay Pryor coaching, that 90% goes a long way versus us.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
stop
So,
doing that. Get
I
out there, get
definitely,
the people what they want.
I definitely need to kind of kick that up in full gear. But Instagram, all one word. Pryor is my last name, Pryor, and then development. So Pryor development. TikTok, it was there, and I just stopped. TikTok's a very, very interesting place. So I haven't really
To
been on
say
that
the
as much.
least.
But email pryordevelopment@gmail.com. But yeah, Instagram mainly. And I see all messages. Don't see all comments. I'm just a one human being within Instagram. It's not like it's a business or anything. So if you have questions, let me know. If I don't get back to you, then keep bugging me, and I eventually will. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jay.
Hey
Guys,
man, I
please.
appreciate you. I really do. This has been looking back, 4 or 5 years ago at the things that you were doing and wanting to just even connect and to where we are now and both even in the same city is big. So man, I really do appreciate you and all the things that you're doing for the infield community as well.
Likewise, my man. Well, you have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Jay, for joining us. Guys, go hit him up on Instagram. All right. Take care.
We'll see you.